officially October, and that means setting up the bullet journal for October. I did a little differently than what I said I was going to do when I started this journal, which was keeping the theme with what the journal cover gave me, which is, this really lovely blue and gold with this kind of really elegant filigree kind of accents. And while I do plan on keeping that going forward, October is just kind of special for me. It's when I met my husband, it's when we got married, and it's just, it's special. It's October. So I pulled some elements from a couple of the previous A&O items that I've received both in my subscription box as well as some of the things that I just ordered, as you saw in the last unboxing. We've got some things to play with. So I busted out some of the new washi tape. I busted out the scrapbook pages that came in the Dark Academia subscription box. That is a quarterly subscription box. And if you haven't taken a look at what those subscription boxes offer, I highly recommend it. I have not been disappointed with the quarterly subscription box at all. But this washi tape came from the most recent order I had with A&O, and I don't think it's actually called the Ravens and Books. That's what the little washi tape is there. But this bigger one, it's actually got like cats and mushrooms and stars and moons, and it just kind of fit not only with the journal as a whole, but also with it being December, kind of spooky and stuff like that. So I decided that I was going to add a little bit more elements of fall and of October in general into this monthly set. I'm going to keep the same layout that I've been using. I am going to use a little bit more decoration stickers than I have in the past because I realized that I probably, I mean to add them, and then as I get into the month I just don't go back to add that stuff in. So I wanted to do it this time, and because the background page that I chose this time around is actually fairly dark, I needed to add some more elements in there so that it could my monthly sticker could actually show up. Yeah, I'm really enjoying these pieces, and I need to start using them a little bit more. And after marking up marking up the journal for the month and adding in those elements, I've decided that I'm not going to use my fountain pen as much in the journal because it just makes a mess. It makes a mess on my hands and then makes a mess onto the page. So you saw me refilling the pen. I did have a really lovely green in it. The green is I'm sorry, holly. It's very, very pretty. It's got a sheen to it. It is also very dark. It actually, when I'm writing with it, it looks almost black, except for when it transfers. Then you see the green. I decided I was going to refill my fountain pen with the words Worth and Black fountain pen ink in fuchsia pink. And even though I did refill it, it just didn't write pink at all. I was going to use a lot of pinks and purples and oranges in this setup because that's what the stickers for the month kind of lent to, but the pen just didn't think that the green that was left in the pen may have mixed with the pink and it just comes out brown later on. So I'm going to set it up the same way I normally do. I have my monthly look ahead in the front with my monthly page, and then I set up my bill budget right after that. And then I'm going to start my trackers. I had a lovely viewer tell me that maybe instead of just using the acrylic block and the stamps straight onto the stamp pad, maybe use a stamp roller. And so I'm going to try that on this one. I don't think it worked as well as it should have, or maybe I just didn't do it right. But I think the main problem that I'm coming up with the stamp in particular, and it's only one section of the stamp, is there's just not a really good connection between the page and the silicone stamp. So it's still a work in progress and we'll figure it out eventually. So here I'm just getting my stickers together. I did set this up a little bit before October. Uh, I am doing my voiceover October 1st, and this one actually took a lot less time than some of my previous ones. Usually it takes about 2 hours to get journal set up for the month. And this one only took me like an hour and 45 minutes, I want to say. But I wasn't really adding anything new. I kind of already knew what I was going to put into it. No real experimentation on this one. I did like the trackers that I used last month, and I decided I was going to use them again. I wasn't as diligent in using them as I probably should have, but I did use them a lot more often than I anticipated I did. Yeah, I always shoot for the moon and hope to land among the stars when I set up trackers and stuff like that. So this is where we're gonna really get into the transfer for the fountain pen and what ultimately made me decide that I'm not going to use it as much in the setup because it just kind of looks bad at the end of it. I also didn't plan for my stickers to coincide this time around. I actually dropped one and it made me go to the next one. So I won't have to highlight my budget like I did previously because it's already kind of set up that way for me. And if I'm being honest, highlighting them last month kind of made me lose the spacing at times. So if I can coordinate the stickers with colored pens, then I will do that going forward. So here is the trackers. You're gonna see me like pause and move off to the side because I am not a math person. So I'm doing some quick math just to make sure that I have enough spaces and not using too much too many pages for these trackers because I don't normally look at my planner on the weekends unless I'm doing something that I know I'll need to have a space to take notes, or if I know that something like I have a meeting or something like that. I don't have those too often, thank goodness. I'm not that important. But I do take a look at what my weekend plans are on Fridays before I leave work. So I want to make sure that I have enough space for every weekday because those are the ones that I really want to keep track of, not necessarily on the weekend, but I need to make sure that the weekends are still accounted for because I do go back and fill that information in on Monday. So here are the stamps. These are stamp sets from Archer and Olive. I did use them in the previous setup. This stamp set is the self-care stamp set, and I'm only using a couple of pieces from this one at the moment. And I'm that may change later, but I just don't have the time to carry them and set up the stamp block for all of the different facets that are included in this set. Like there's a set to there's yeah, there's like a battery set there so you can denote your energy level. And I just don't have time to do that on in my day to day. I probably could, but I also don't have this journal set up to do that either. There's also like a doodle of the day and such like that, but I'm not an artist. That's why I use stickers and washi tape, and why the bestie does all of our graphics for the channel. I am getting better. Like if you follow us on Instagram, a lot of those posts are done by me, so a lot of those graphics that look pretty basic, yeah, that's all me. Here I'm realizing that if I put my hand underneath the page and press up while I rub the stamp in, maybe that will work. And it is working better. It's really hard to do on the right hand page though, especially near the spine of the page. And that's just because of how the block is set up. That block is actually pretty wide, so I have to make sure that I'm pressing pretty firmly to make sure that there's that contact between the page and the stamp. I don't know if the roller is working as well as it could. It could just be that I'm not using the right kind of stamp pad for it. If you have suggestions on how better to use these stamps, please let me know. I actually got this roller for a different project altogether, and when somebody was like, "Oh yeah, they have like rollers for ink. You should try that." I was like, "Oh wait, I have one of those." So I'm just trying to add a little bit more character to my pages. The bestie got to see in my journal one morning at breakfast, and she was like, "Oh, your setup is so pretty." I think my setup is very utilitarian, but I do like to add a little bit of flair every once in a while. And if the consummate artist that is the bestie says something that I'm doing is pretty, then I'm going to keep doing it, or I'm going to try and do better. Doesn't always work that way, but I'm going to do what I can. So those are the trackers. I always put the trackers beforehand. I don't, maybe I should start doing like the tracker with the day and kind of integrate it. Maybe that's what I'll do for November. But like I said, I'm going to be sticking with a very kind of Halloween, October festival, or not festival, I'm sorry, harvest kind of look with this one. So that micro washi tape is the, the one I'm using is actually little moons, little crescent moons. And then what I'm using across it is a little bit wider, and it's got pumpkins, foiled pumpkins on it. So I did have a question on how I am able to get the washi tape all the way across without it buckling. And I used to slit right there where the spine is the washi tape. When I just drew it across, I would kind of slit the washi tape, and I do that sometimes still. But I found that if I am placing it down and then I actually crease the washi with my fingernail into that groove of the spine, it actually stays pretty well and it doesn't buckle. So I'm adding in my dates and days. I do Monday through Friday with a Saturday and Sunday. The dates will go on Monday and Monday through Friday, not Saturday and Sunday. Because again, like I'll put that I have things going on in there, but I don't actually look at my journal too often on the weekends unless a question of what are we doing comes up, which does happen semi often. My husband does rely on me to keep track of our social schedule. Not always, but he likes to say that's one of my wifely duties is to make sure that, some one of us knows what's going on. So there are 31 days in October. Again, only one box for the weekend. And I normally put a brain dump in the leftover space of the page. And I noticed that I'm not using it as much. I'm actually using my future logs a lot more than I used to. So I don't need the brain dump area like I had in the past. But one of the things I did want to do, and I really did enjoy this last month, was using the daily affirmations. So they're not always affirmations. Sometimes I just put in like quick thoughts, which I could be putting in my commonplace journal, but I'm not. They're just, like little reminders to myself. Like maybe, you know, it's not so bad, or, you know, stress does different things to each of us. Let's not let a 5-second interaction ruin the rest of the 24 hours of the day, kind of thing. Just little reminders for myself, a quick moment that I'll give myself every day to actually fill it in. Yeah, I do enjoy that part. That's also part of the self-care stamp pack. I do have the emotion tracker at the end of the month. I'm liking that a lot more than like a year of pixels for my moods or how I'm feeling. And that is actually in the Everyday Celestial stamp pack. It's the only one I'm using right now, and I am enjoying the use of it. But yeah, I gotta actually use it more because I think I only filled in maybe 6 squares last month. I wasn't taking the time to check in with myself, and I I really need to do that more often. That's pretty much the month setup. I'm looking for some specific stickers, because like I said, October is a very special month for me, and I wanted to make sure that I had something to commemorate that. It's the month that we used to celebrate my cat's birthday in. It's the month my husband and I got married in, and the month that we met. So it's really special for us here in the house, and I just wasn't finding the stickers that I was looking for. So yeah, I eventually found something, but it took quite a while. I think I know this video is sped up, but I think it actually took me like half an hour to try and find what I was looking for. And I finally settled on a little something. But if you guys are just starting in your journaling journey, I think stickers are a great way to go, especially if you're not terribly artistically inclined, or just don't have the time to like futz with the artistry of it. Stickers are a great way to go. As you can tell, I have a lot of them and I really recommend them. I'm using a lot of Clever Fox planner stickers, but I have gotten planner stickers from many different places. I do tend to like these ones though. If you guys like this kind of content, be sure to check on the channel. And we post pretty regularly about journaling and books and planners. And yeah, love to see you again.